This map shows the geographical spread of Buddhism. So it originated in northeast India, and then from there spread to Sri Lanka, from Sri Lanka to Southeast Asia, Burma, Thailand, Laos, from there to Cambodia, Vietnam, China, Tibet, Korea, and Japan. And these remain the kind of the heartland of Buddhism to this day. And as you see, there are two different types of Buddhism, two primary types: Theravada, Mahayana, which we'll say much more about later. And this reflects the fact that as it spread to different regions, the beliefs of Buddhism evolved and changed, partly in reaction to the existing beliefs of the people whom the Buddhists encountered. This also shows the spread of Buddhism, but does so geographically and chronologically. And so you see that Buddhism in India disappeared for the most part around the 12th century, became virtually extinct. In Tibet, a unique form of Buddhism, Vajrayana, developed, and we'll say more about that later. And then in Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, the original version of Buddhism, Theravada, persisted, whereas in China, Korea, and Japan, Mahayana Buddhism, which is a modification of the original Buddhist teachings, flourished. So, on to Buddhist beliefs. As I said, the Buddha shared many Hindu beliefs. That was the cultural, religious environment in which he was raised, and so they accept that we are trapped in samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth. However, they oppose the caste system, and they oppose the view that your karma determines which social status you're reborn into, and then you're trapped in that social status. And again, this is why in recent years among untouchables, deletes, Buddhism has proven to be popular. Also, in contrast to Hinduism, which has a very rich philosophical tradition of fairly abstract and incredibly technical and quite brilliant speculation about the nature of reality, Buddhists, at least originally, thought all that was irrelevant. And the Buddha saw himself as a very practical person who wanted to solve the problems facing humanity, and was unconcerned with the kind of abstract speculation which obsessed many Hindu scholars. Okay, some other differences between Buddhism and Hinduism is that the Buddha denied that we have an Atman, a soul. Instead, he taught the doctrine of anatta, which means no self, and this gets very confusing, but basically he taught that there is no essence to human individuals. There is no soul which defines our basic identity, and he did believe that in reincarnation that something gets passed from life to life, but he did not believe that what gets passed through the cycle of samsara is a definite soul. And instead, he called the elements of our personality, of ourself, khandhas, which are kind of vague and abstract, but he used the analogy of a flame. How you take a candle, use it to light another candle, on down the line. Another important doctrine the Buddha taught was anicca, which means impermanence. He believed that all things are constantly changing, nothing is permanent, and also all things are interconnected. Everything is related to everything else in a very fundamental way. He did share the Hindu belief in karma, although, as I said, he rejected the belief in the caste system, and so our behavior in this life does determine what we are reborn as in our next life. And Buddhists are expected to follow these 5 basic rules, and these are understood as the minimum moral requirements if you expect to be reborn as a human being instead of being reborn as an animal. And as with Hindus, Buddhists tend to have great compassion for non-human animals. They believe that non-human animals are part of the same cycle of death and rebirth that humans are, However, they are incapable of achieving nirvana, of escaping the cycle of samsara. So in that sense, humans are superior, and it's desirable to be reborn as a human being.